everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths. I'm your host, Jennifer Zeng. On the eve of the Lunar New Year, Biden finally made a phone call to Xi Jinping and shared his greetings and well wishes with the Chinese people on the occasion of Lunar New Year. It is obviously a Lunar New Year gift from Biden to Xi Jinping. What are the other 4 gifts that Biden has given in the first 3 weeks since he was in office? Today, I will discuss this issue. I will also briefly talk about how I look at the so-called deadly attack on the US Capitol on January 6 that all the media have been talking about. So please make sure you stick around till the end. On February 10th US time and February 11th Beijing time, Biden made a 2-hour phone call with Xi Jinping. The White House released a short statement on the phone call saying that Biden affirmed his priorities of protecting the American people's security, prosperity, health, and way of life, and preserving a free and open Indo-Pacific, and that Biden underscored his fundamental concerns about Beijing's coercive and unfair economic practices, crackdown in Hong Kong, human rights abuses in Xinjiang, and increasingly assertive actions in the region, including toward Taiwan. President Biden committed to pursuing practical, results-oriented engagements when it advances the interests of the American people and those of our allies. That is pretty much what the White House says about the phone call. However, if you read CCP's report, it is totally a different story. CCP's mouthpiece Xinhua published a report of nearly 900 words about this phone call. Out of the nearly 900 words, 150 were attributed to Biden in 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph says that Biden sent his new Lunar Year greetings to the Chinese people and wished China a prosperous future. The second paragraph about Biden was put at the end of the article. It says that Biden said China is a country with a long history and great civilization, and the Chinese people are great people. The United States and China should avoid conflict and can cooperate in a wide range of areas, including climate change. The US side is willing to engage in frank and constructive dialogue with China in a spirit of mutual respect to enhance mutual understanding and avoid mutual misunderstandings and miscalculations. Then the last paragraph says both leaders agreed that today's call will send a positive signal to the world, and both sides agreed to maintain close contact on US-China relations and issues of mutual concern. Apart from this, all the other 4 paragraphs begin with either Xi Jinping pointed out or Xi Jinping stressed that. Then they go on with what sounds like a lot of orders from Xi Jinping to Biden, such as cooperation is the only right choice for both sides. The 2 countries should focus on cooperation and manage differences. And Taiwan, Hong Kong related and border related issues are China's internal affairs and concern China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The US side should respect China's core interests and act with caution. Apart from this report, Xinhua also published English commentaries such as Xi-Biden telephone call sends positive signals to world. Xiplomacy. Experts say Xi-Biden call bodes well for potential China-US cooperation. What is Xiplomacy? It seems to me that the CCP was so excited about the Biden call that it even adopted a new word, Xiplomacy, to describe the phone call as a diplomatic victory of Xi Jinping. And Xi Jinping needed such a victory so much, so this is obviously a big gift to Xi Jinping. Actually, prior to this phone call, Biden already sent 4 big gifts to the CCP. What are the 4 big gifts? The first is the quiet withdrawal of the proposal by the Trump administration to safeguard U.S. academic freedom from the threat of the CCP-funded Confucius Institutes. Ned Price, the spokesman of the U.S. Department of State, denied this at a press conference briefing on February 11th and said that the Trump administration never submitted it to the Federal Register in the first place, and on Inauguration Day, the White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain released a memo freezing all regulatory process. That freeze meant that it was withdrawn from the review process and would need to be resubmitted. However, if we check the website of the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, we can see clearly that it says the review was received on December 31st, 2020, and withdrawn and concluded on January 26, 2021. Therefore, I'm not quite convinced by Ned Price's denial, even if what he said was true, which is the proposal had never been submitted. If Biden really wanted to go ahead with it, he could have chosen not to freeze it or resubmit it, right? It's just a matter of whether he wants to do it or not. And when did the withdrawal happen? It's on January 26, only 6 days after Biden was in office. And what had happened before that on the CCP side? First of all, on January 20th, exactly at the same time when Biden was sworn in, the CCP announced sanctions against a number of former senior U.S. officials, including former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Then, on January 23rd, the CCP sent an unprecedented 13 military planes to harass Taiwan. And then on January 24th, the number of fighter jets was raised to a record high of 15. You can say those military actions are just like slaps on the face for Biden to test his bottom line. And what was Biden's response? Instead of immediately dispatching military aircraft or ships to the Taiwan Strait, he quietly revoked the ban on the Confucius Institute. It feels like as soon as Xi Jinping waved his fist, Biden immediately knelt down, raised his arms with a big gift in his hands. Then, on January 25th, Xi Jinping made a speech at the Davos Forum. I called it a lecture to Biden in one of my previous shows. Immediately after that, on January 27th, Biden updated the investment ban on some CCP military companies, postponing the restrictions on those blacklisted companies from January 28th to May 27th. The fourth big gift is on February 11th, just 1 day after Biden's phone call with Xi Jinping. The Biden administration said that it had paused legal actions against CCP's social media platform Wechat. The fifth big gift is that on February 10th, the Biden administration made a similar move with TikTok, saying it would review Trump's efforts to ban the video sharing app and pause a deal forcing its sale to the US-based companies Oracle and Walmart. When being asked about this issue at a press briefing, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki responded like this. Let's take a look at her reply.
So, it's not accurate to suggest that there is a new proactive step by the Biden White House. it looks like there was a conflation of two ongoing processes, one that's through the courts and one that is through the CFIUS process that goes through the Department of Treasury. There is a rigorous CFIUS process that is ongoing. I'm not going, of course, not that you're expecting me to, set a precedent of commenting on those reviews in process, but would just stress that they are distinct processes. I will note, broadly speaking, that we are comprehensively evaluating, as we've talked about in here, the risks U.S. data, including from TikTok, the risks to U.S. data, I should say, including from TikTok, and we'll address them in a decisive and effective fashion. But if we have news to announce, we will announce it. So I wouldn't take it as a new step.
Lastly, is there a timetable for this review?
I don't have a timetable for you.
So from Psaki's reply, we can clearly see that Biden administration isn't taking any proactive steps to review TikTok's safe threat to Americans, and that they don't have a timeline when they are going to do so. This affair could be permanently dropped altogether. Well, from the above, we can see that in just about 3 weeks, Biden has already given Xi Jinping 5 big gifts, which all benefit the CCP greatly. I'm afraid that in the future, the Biden administration may pretend that they will stay tough with the CCP by saying some tough but empty words, or sending a few aircraft carriers to the South China Sea. But those could just be some sort of political shows and wouldn't really hurt the CCP at all. And the reality is, when it comes to the issues that the CCP really cares about a lot, such as issues in technology, trade, information, and ideology area, Biden would be very soft. All the 5 gifts he has given to the CCP will greatly benefit the CCP and hurt the interest of the US. This is a sad reality that every American has to face now. Very sad. Next, let's move on to our second topic today, the facts and lack of facts about the deadly attack on the US Capitol on January 6. Even after President Trump was acquitted by the US Senate on Saturday in the impeachment against him for inciting an insurrection at the Capitol that left 5 people dead, many media are still using deadly attack, the most violent domestic attack, to describe what happened on January 6 at the Capitol Hill. Are the allegations and the descriptions true? We need to check some facts first. Out of the 5 deaths on that day, only 1 is related or can be described as a deadly attack. 35-year-old Ashley Babbitt, a military veteran from San Diego, was shot to death by a Capitol Hill police officer when she tried to crawl through a broken window into the Speaker's lobby. So the deadly attack was committed by a police officer against a female civilian who was not armed. All the other 4 deaths were the result of medical conditions, including the case of Officer Brian Sicknick, who was widely reported as being beaten with a fire extinguisher. Deaths from medical conditions have nothing to do with a deadly attack, nor should they be connected to or described as a deadly attack. According to an analysis by Revolver News and quoted by Tucker Carlson from Fox News, there's no evidence that Brian Sicknick was hit with a fire extinguisher at any point on January 6. The officer's body apparently bore no signs of trauma. In fact, on the night of January 6, long after rioters at the Capitol had been arrested or dispersed, Brian Sicknick texted his brother from his office. According to his brother, Sicknick said he'd been pepper sprayed twice but was otherwise in good shape. 24 hours later, Officer Brian Sicknick was dead. Tucker Carlson also said in his show that the head of the Capitol Police Union has said he had a stroke. His body was cremated immediately, and authorities have refused to release his autopsy. No one has been charged in his death, and no charges are pending. Therefore, from the above facts, we know that if what happened on January 6 can be described as a deadly attack, it was an attack on a civilian by the police officer, and this attack has zero connection with President Trump. Regarding the deadly attack, there are still many facts that are lacking, such as 1. Who is the officer that killed Ashley Babbitt? 2. Who are the people that engaged in violent deeds on that day? Apart from the lacking of facts, there are also still many unanswered questions, such as 1. Why would the officer shoot Ashley Babbitt? What are the protocols for the police to shoot at people under that kind of circumstance? If anyone who tries to break a broken window needs to be shot to death, why was only Ashley Babbitt shot, while others who did the same thing were not shot? If shooting was not a required or standard action to take, why did that police officer choose to shoot? Did Ashley Babbitt impose any immediate danger to anybody? 2. Who, among all the people that were involved in any violent deeds on that day, was incited by Trump to do what they did? Where is the evidence to show their actions were the direct results of Trump's incitement? If we don't know who those people that were involved in any violent actions are and who among them were incited by Trump, how could we conclude that Trump should be held responsible for what those people did? There are many other questions to ask, such as why didn't the DC police do anything when authorities already knew days ago that something was being planned? Why wasn't Trump's offer to deploy 10,000 National Guard troops in DC ahead of January 6 accepted? But I don't want to list them all here. The other day I heard this line from a Korean drama. How to find out the perpetrators of something. Just find who has benefited from it. So, to apply this theory, which I think seldom goes wrong, to the event on January 6, who has benefited and who has been greatly harmed and become victims? I think we don't need rocket science to figure this out. America is beyond a joke for many people now because of what it has done and what it is still doing. It is also so sad. Well, I guess that's why I call my channel Inconvenient Truths. Truths really hurt and are often very inconvenient. But we still need to learn and speak out the truth, right? Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Please do consider supporting me in any form you can and check out my previous videos you might have missed. Thank you. See you next time.